Good evening, everyone. I'm Abby Miller-Levy. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of Primetime Partners, and I'm thrilled to pass the mic over to my partner, Alan Patricof. Now, I have a page here with many of Alan's accomplishments, because after 5 decades of being really a veteran of the venture capital industry, he has many. As many of you may know, his most recent gig before starting Primetime was founding Greycroft Partners. But before that, he started Alan Patricof and Company, and Ventures, which became Apex Partners. Alan has had a tremendous impact on the industry. And so I often get asked, what's it like to work with Alan? And I can give no better example than when we were raising our first fund, and we had a very thin data room first fund. And an institutional LP said, I want to get references on you and Alan. And I was thinking, that makes sense, right? References on Alan. So I said to Alan, who do you want to provide as your references? And he said, every single CEO I've invested in. And how many of us can say that every single person we've invested in we could call as a reference? And the best part about Alan was he wasn't kidding. He then came with a printout of every single CEO he invested in and said, let's get that in the data room. And I think that's a real testament to who he is and what his values are. The second thing that I wanted to comment on tonight is that, as you can imagine, Alan's gotten so many awards over the years. But there's something very special about it being a New York City award. Alan takes the bus. Alan enjoys Broadway. Alan was a co-founder of New York Magazine. Alan, he may not tell you this, but he was often found at Studio 54 at all hours of the night, at morning, very, very late into the night. And Alan has never considered, no matter how much money was thrown at him, ever leaving New York City. So he is a proud New Yorker. He's an even prouder father of 3, grandfather of 7, and husband to his new bride, Barbara. And he is just a tremendous, wonderful human to be with and to work with. And I am so thrilled that Primary and NYC Tech is recognizing him tonight. So let's all put our hands together for the legend, Alan Patricof.
I can't resist but to be a historian in some way, in some regard, because I was in this building 50 years ago, and you ought to look up to the ceiling. I just got back from Barcelona with my wife and went to an incredible cathedral there, and I look here and say, we have our form of a cathedral here. This building was built in 1920 by the Cunard Company as a Standard & Poor building. Cipriani has a great record of finding banks in old, spectacular New York buildings. Anyhow, I think I was given this award in order to improve and increase the average age of the audience. For those who don't know, and I tell everybody, I was 90 2 months ago. And it's something to clap for today. As Brad knows, yes, he said he has 40 years to catch up with me. I've been in the venture capital business since 1970, when it wasn't a business. When I first started out, just to give you an idea, Primetime Partners, which Abby and I are partners of, which focuses on longevity, and people don't realize the fastest growing part of the population is people over the age of 50 or 60, whatever you want to use as a marker. It's going to be, there'll be more people over 60 than those under 18 in the next 10 years. But as a new firm with a new idea, in our first year in business 4 years ago, we saw 500 deals. We have collectively seen about 2,000 deals since we put up our shingle. In the first year I started in business, I don't think we saw 20 deals. New York was a desert. If you'd had a meeting like this, which you couldn't have had it really literally would have been in a phone booth. I mean, there was no venture capital community. In fact, the NVCA wasn't started until 1973, and the real breakthrough in this industry was something which probably most of you never heard of, which is something called the Plan Asset Regulation, and without that, you wouldn't even be sitting here today, because it was the legal restriction that was changed by the Labor Department that let pension funds invest in non-liquid assets. And look where the non-liquid asset business has become today. I think you may have read that, I think recently, that Blackstone is forming an alternative asset fund for small investors. So it's reached right down now to the retail level. In 1970, there really was no tech industry here. The first investment I made, and I'm not going to go through 50 years of investments, was in the secondary lead smelting business. And ironically, that company turned out to be a gigantic success, but you never would have guessed it then, because it was just a scrap mill in New Jersey, and it's now a $2 or $3 billion company, and it's the biggest smelting company in the world, and that no one's heard of. But there was no tech industry, and even more so, you could not get anyone from Silicon Valley or the state of California to move to New York City. And they gave the reasons. The schools were bad, the crime in the streets, housing was no good. Every reason in the world. You would do everything you could to recruit somebody, work so hard with headhunters, bring them to New York 2 or 3 times, then bring them with their wives, and the next thing you knew, they said, "I'm sorry, we're not going to move." And it's ironic when you think of the facilities that Facebook and Google and so many other companies have here today, and all of you sitting in this audience, that we really are an industry today of which I think most, you could all be very proud. And I'm very proud. As you heard, I've started 3 firms in this business. I'm now in my 3rd. There may be a 4th. Read my book, which they have out in the hallway, and you will find out how I did it, or why there may be another possible career. I don't know what it is, because I'm very happy in what I'm doing. And longevity is a very hot area today, believe it or not. Anyhow, I want to thank you all for this award, thank Abby for presenting it, and thank Brad in particular, because as he said, we've known each other for a very, very long time. When Brad, it's almost as a success story as the venture industry. Brad told you I was his first reference when he started this business. And believe me, Brad did not have 1,000 people in a room to start with. He struggled like most startups. And I'm very proud of I have nothing to do with it, but I'm very proud of the accomplishments he's had. So thank you very much.